Hi, I'm Hayley Victoria and welcome back to my crime and policing channel. In today's session, we are continuing our investigations into road traffic policing. Exciting, right? You've seen police interceptors, you've seen traffic cops, and now you're watching this. Yeah, it's not really comparable, is it? Sorry guys, it's not as fun. I do know that there may be a traffic cop or two who might be watching this right now. Be kind, you know who you are. All right, so the last video we did was a bit of an introduction where I did a bit of like an overview about what we'll be looking at and looked at some little bits of legislation, some definitions and stuff like that. In this video, we are looking at driver behaviour and some of the things around there. And in particular, I'm going to start off with the things that annoy me the most, right? And then we'll look at the more severe offences as we go up there, including drink and drug driving, which there is absolutely no excuse for. Yeah, so that's it really. I'll give you the legislations as well. Yeah, so if I did everything in road traffic policing, I'd be here all year. So I'm just going to do the main things that we covered in initial police training and a little bit further. And if you want to know anything else, then feel free to send me a message or get yourself one of these bad boys. It's upside down, cool. Blackstone's Policing Handbook. And you can also get some like specific books from Blackstone's too. I have quite a lot of these, so like this one. So I've got general policing duties, road traffic policing, lots of different books in order to help you learn specific bits about law. Okay, so cracking on with traffic then. The first thing, like I mentioned, are the things that really do my head in about driving. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So first things first, seatbelts. Oh my God. It is not hard to put a seatbelt on, right? Literally, click. Isn't it like an advert, the clunk click thing? Make sure you're safe. Seatbelts save lives. They're not just there to look cool or not cool. They genuinely will save your life. If it wasn't for seatbelts, I probably wouldn't still be here as I am now. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't have my seatbelt on when I got hit. So make sure you do wear your seatbelt all the time if you're able to. There are some exemptions, which I'll go through in a moment, but by and large, wear your damn seatbelt. There are lots of bit of legislations that cover seatbelts. 14, 15, 15A and 15B of the Road Traffic Act 1988. There's also quite a few bits of legislation in terms of the Motor Vehicles Regulations 1993. And yeah, basically they all cover the seatbelt stuff, which is what we're just going to talk about now. Okay, so whose responsibility do you think it is that people in your car wear a seatbelt? Well, it's yours, obviously. Unless you're 14 or over, passengers 14 or over, then the onus is on the passenger. But you, so your own seatbelt, that's your responsibility to make sure you're wearing it. Anybody under the age of 14, your responsibility that they're wearing it. And 14 and over, it says it's the passenger's responsibility in my Blackstone Policing Handbook. But let's be honest, if you're carrying your teenager in your car and they are 14 years old and they don't have their seatbelt on, you're going to be paying for that bill. Yeah? And the fine you're looking at is £500 each. So if you get charged £500 not wearing your seatbelt, or up to £500, and other people in your car, you get charged for that as well. It could be a very expensive trip to Cleethorpes, couldn't it? So just make sure you're wearing your seatbelt. So there are some exemptions and some rules as well. So if you are the driver, you're in the front, you need to wear a seatbelt. If you are aged 3 and under, you need to have a proper child seat and ideally be in the rear of the vehicle if you can. Yeah, that's that one, easy, and it's your responsibility. If you're aged between 3 and 12 and less than 1.35 metres, again, it's the responsibility of the driver to make sure they are wearing a seatbelt. And also, if you're between 3 and 12 as well, you need to have your booster seats as well. So you get different size child seats. If you are unsure about what size seat your child needs, go to Halfords or another motor shop and they might have, I know definitely in Halfords, got these like seat things that you sit your kid in and they tell you what kind of chair you need, the size and everything. It's really good, really helpful. And the seat check thing is free as well. You don't actually have to buy one from there. They just tell you what you need. That's a free service, or it certainly was when I got mine checked out. So between 3 and 12, they're going to need that booster seat or child seat, child restraint, however you want to call it. And they will sort you out with exactly what you need. And if you're unsure, have a look online. There's loads of different models you can look at. And you don't have to spend the earth either. They're not all that expensive, and there's a variety to choose from. You can use the posh ones, but considering the amount of McDonald's chips are going to get squashed into it, you might just want to go for a cheaper option as long as it's safe. Okay, that's that bit. So like I said, 12 to 13, over the height of 1.35 metres, you need a seatbelt, and 14 and above, you need a seatbelt. Ta-da! That is it. There are some exemptions, and I will go through those with you now. So if you have a medical certificate, a medical exemption from wearing a seatbelt, you don't need to wear a seatbelt. So there are some conditions where wearing a seatbelt would antagonise those conditions, then you don't need to wear one. But you do need to have a proper doctor's letter, not just one from your own. If you are reversing or carrying out a manoeuvre in which reversing is part of that manoeuvre. Cool, right? But make sure once you've finished doing that manoeuvre, you pop your seatbelt on. If you are a private taxi driver and you are out looking for a customer, you know, like on those like private hire cabs with the lights on the top. So if you're out looking for customers or you're carrying customers, you don't need to wear one. If you are people taking part in organised processions by the Crown, I don't know how many of you guys drive around in gilded carriages around London. I don't. Wish I did. You don't have to wear a seatbelt then, but you are generally like quite slow in it. You're not really whizzing down Regent Street. So yeah, organised processions of the Crown, you're cool, you don't need to wear a seatbelt. I guess you might get in the way of all that waving. A big one, people in vehicles being used for policing purposes. That could mean you. But I would advise wearing your seatbelts when you can, when it's safe to do so, because if you're going to be driving at excess speed, I want to make sure that you guys are safe. Please stay safe on the roads, okay? Generally, all police people wear seatbelts. It's just something that's in the legislation that there could be an exemption there. And if somebody with a different ability or disability has a different type of seatbelt, then of course they're exempted from wearing the standard issue seatbelts. That's it for seatbelts. Easy, right? Wear your seatbelt, make sure people in your car are wearing a seatbelt, or you're looking at a hefty fine. And no trip to McDonald's is worth it. Oh, also, if you're doing like little short, sharp journeys, so if you're a delivery driver and the distance is less than 50 metres per delivery, then you don't have to wear one then either. I'm just thinking of my Hermes driver. She's really nice. She always brings it on time. It's never cruffed up or anything like that. So perhaps she doesn't need to between those short stops. That is it. Seatbelts, easy. The next one, however, is worse than seatbelts. Mobile phones. Absolutely hate it. Nobody's call or text message is that important that you need to take it in the car right now. Unless it's like a matter of life and death, fair enough, right? But 9 times out of 10, it's not. You don't need to be talking to your friends. You don't need to be on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok. Seriously, I've seen people driving on TikTok. What the hell are you doing on TikTok that you need to do in the car that you can't do when you stop? What are you doing? You're clearly not paying attention to the road if you're doing some bizarre dance while you're at some lights. I have seen this and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? So yeah, don't use your phone when you're driving because you too might get a big fine or even worse. The legislation around mobile phones changed mega recently. So do make sure that you've, adapted to what the new things are. It is illegal to hold or use a phone, a sat-nav, a tablet, or any other device that can send and receive data while you're driving or riding a motorcycle. End of. There you go. This means you cannot have it in your hand, not even in your hand, for any reason, whether it's online or offline. So for example, you can't text, you can't make calls, take photos or videos, definitely not TikTok, or browse the web. I know it's really important that you get to listen to the song that's in your head, right? We've all been there, you drive and you think, I could be listening to this song right now. It's such a great day for that song. You have to wait till you get home and jam it out in your bedroom. You can't be scrolling looking for songs. You can't be messing about trying to find addresses and stuff. If you are using your phone as a sat-nav, like I use my phone as a sat-nav all the time, make sure you sort all that out before you turn your engine on and set off, okay? And if you're lost, pull over somewhere safe and then figure out where you are from there. Don't do it while you're driving. It's super dangerous. So I've mentioned driving or riding a motorcycle, and it also includes when you're stopped at traffic lights, when you're queuing in traffic, when you're in a drive-through at McDonald's, if you're supervising a learner driver. Even if you've got one of those cars when you're driving and the engine turns off when you stop, you still can't do it. And it still applies if it's in like flight mode. It doesn't matter. It's distracting you from driving, don't use it. There are some exemptions, of course. There are exemptions for everything. And the law is fair. So if you need to call someone in an emergency, 999 or 112, and it's unsafe or impractical for you to stop, that's an exemption because you are using it because there's an emergency. You are safely parked. If you are safely parked up, then you can use your phone. You can use your phone to make a payment at a drive-through, but you can't be on it while you're waiting in the drive-through. So let's say I'm waiting in McDonald's drive-through queue. I don't go to McDonald's really. Apart from when I get, I like to get a large Sprite after I've been to MMA. Don't know why, it's just my thing. Anyway, if I'm driving in McDonald's in the queue and I'm waiting, if I get my phone out and start scrolling, that's illegal. It's an offence. If I take my phone out to use contactless pay, that's not an offence because I'm using it as a payment device, not as, you know, the other side of usage for that device. You can use it to pay, that's it basically. Or you're using the device to park your vehicle remotely. Never heard of that before. That's some serious Tesla witchcraft that I don't have access to in my Mini. So there you go. You can use your device hands-free. I've got hands-free on there, right? You can use them hands-free. As long as you're not holding them at the time. Because it defeats the object, right? It's hands-free. So as long as you're not holding them at the time, you're all right. Hands-free access means using things like a dashboard holder on mat, voice command, like, hey Siri, I don't know, play Cha-Cha Slide, or whatever. Right, as long as you're using the hands-free, you're all right. If it's on a windscreen mount, if it's a built-in sat-nav, a lot of vehicles have got those. But most importantly, whatever device it is, it cannot block your view of the road. So it needs to be done somewhere safely. Basically, you've got to be in control of your vehicle at all times, and the police can stop you if they think that you are distracted and you're not in control. And you can be prosecuted. And this is where the tricky bit gets, because there are penalties for using your phone, and they're pretty bad. It's no longer just a put your phone down, because it's seriously dangerous. Okay, so here are your penalties that you're going to look at if you're caught using your mobile phone whilst driving. So you can get 6 points, 6 penalty points, and a £200 fine if you are caught using your phone, sat-nav or tablet, or any other device that can send and receive data while you are driving or riding a motorcycle. Boom, ouch. So initially, first thing you do, fine, points, right? It could also get worse. If you're in the first 2 years of driving, you'll lose your licence. You've just passed your test, just got your car, lose your licence. Oh dear. You can also get 3 penalty points if you can't see, if it's blocking your view from the road and other vehicles, or if you don't have proper control of your vehicle. It's not a risk you really want to take, is it, guys? Because already we've got a lot of points racking up here. You can also go to court and be banned from driving. This is all for using the phone. Just wait, okay? I know it's great when you're texting people, you feel all excited and stuff, but just wait, you know? There's a lot to said about good things come to those who wait, right? I don't know. Anyway, there you go. Mobile phones, don't use them. It's annoying, you could kill somebody. Done. Okay, next. There are a multitude of offences in relation to dangerous driving, and they all sit largely under the Road Traffic Act 1988. And we're going to look at some of those now. The legislation does say that there are like 2 main causes of dangerous driving. That's the driver's manner and behaviour, and then the condition of the vehicle. And I'm going to fully explain that for you in a second as well. So there are 2 factors we're looking at here. I'm going to read for you now section 2A, subsection 1 of the Road Traffic Act 1988 from Blackstone's Policing Handbook. So section 2A states that a person is regarded as driving dangerously because the way they drive falls far below what would be expected of a competent and careful driver. And it would be obvious to a competent and careful driver that the driving would be dangerous. And that's something that the court would decide if, given all the evidence. The minimum standard of driving applies during the driving test, with knowledge and application of the highway code also setting the standard at which a competent and careful person should drive. The Highway Code therefore provides a useful guide when interviewing and gathering evidence of this type of offence. So I mentioned in a previous video as well, it doesn't matter whether you passed your test 2 weeks ago or 20 years ago, you're supposed to all be at that standard of driving. You've just passed your test. You're actually supposed to be better than those who've been driving for years because you've got all the fresh legislation. You're, holding your steering wheel property. You're not like driving like that, like Limp Bizkit. You are driving properly because you've just passed. You should be better because you're newly passed than those who've been driving for a long, long time. Okay, the following are examples of driving activities which may support an allegation of an offence under section 2A. Okay, these are pretty good examples to be fair. Racing or competitive style driving. Oh, you're racing. Why are you racing to get to Morrison's, guys? Driving at a speed which is highly inappropriate for the prevailing road or traffic conditions. If it's chucking it down or if it's really snowy and you're bolting it down a road, that's dangerous. Why would you do that? Aggressive driving, such as sudden lane changes, cutting into line of vehicles or driving much too close to the vehicle in front. Now then, we've all had that, haven't we? When you're driving and someone gets right up your bumper because they want you to go faster. I'm not going anywhere, pal. Sorry. It's just me. I'm rebellious in my law. I follow the law. I'm such a rebel. Disregard for traffic lights and other road signs, which on careful analysis would appear to be deliberate, or disregard for warnings from fellow passengers. Yeah, there's a red light, guys. You don't go. Look at signs. Read the signs. Take care as well, like that you are concentrating on the road because temporary lights and things can pop up when something happens, and you've got to be cautious all the time. Always be alert when you're on the roads because things can change quite quickly. If you're on the smart motorways and things like that, speeds change because there's something later on. And yeah, just take care when you're driving. Overtaking in circumstances where it could not have been carried out safely. Like over the bow of a hill or something. Like, why would you do that? Impaired drivability, such as having like an arm or leg in plaster, impaired eyesight, or too tired to stay awake. If I've just gone and broken my leg, I'm not going to just drive my car, am I? Because I'm not able to safely stop. If you can't put your weight on your foot, if you can't complete an emergency stop, you shouldn't be on the road. There you go. Using a mobile phone. Get off your phone. So they're all things that come under dangerous driving in under this section. So yeah, let's not do that, eh? Basically driving like a clown. Now we're looking at section 3 of the Road Traffic Act 1988. And this is careless and inconsiderate driving. And it's a little bit like it says on the tin. So someone's being careless or inconsiderate for other road users. And there are examples, of course. But before I get to the examples, I am going to give you that full legislation because I know you guys write this stuff down and I want to make sure I get it word for word so you don't get told off or I don't want you to mess up your knowledge checks. Okay, so section 3 of the Road Traffic Act 1988. An offence is committed by a person who drives a mechanically propelled vehicle on a road or other public place without due care or attention or without reasonable consideration for other persons using the road or public place. Whether the driving was careless or inconsiderate is a question or a fact for the court to decide. But obviously, when you're doing your investigations and you're getting your evidence and stuff together, you'll have all that to present to court and be like, CCTV says you were doing this, mate. And they're like, oh yeah. All right, so here are some examples. So, careless driving, so driving without due care and attention, is defined in law as when the standard of driving falls below what would be expected of a competent driver. Okay, and that's, when you've passed your test. So the difference between this offence and dangerous driving is where the standard falls far below. Okay, so examples of careless driving would include a driver who fails to look behind him when they're reversing, crosses the white line when overtaking without checking for oncoming vehicles. Oh, this one does my head in. Using the right turn indicator when turning left. God, right. Well, when you're coming off a roundabout, you're coming off the roundabout. You need to point that you're coming off the roundabout. You don't tell people you're still carrying on the roundabout. Use your right indicators. What you're doing. I don't understand why you can't use indicators, people. Okay? Shouldn't pass your test. The driver's knowledge of the circumstances can be taken into account, any factors, blah, blah, blah. So inconsiderate driving is another person must be inconvenienced by that driving of the other person. And so some of these examples are cutting across. So if someone's cutting across the path of another vehicle when turning or changing lanes without prior warning, it's not only annoying, it's really dangerous. Cutting in at the front after passing a long line of waiting traffic. The A57, none of us like being on it, guys. Nobody likes the A57. It doesn't mean just because you don't like it, you get to push in, okay? Causing traffic problems by failing to conform to directional arrows. Forcing other drivers to take evasive action by failing to drive correctly. Bother to do that. Deliberately performing skids at high speed or making handbrake turns. Really? Driving on footpaths. Driving off-road across grassland with disregard for other users of the space. So that is really inconsiderate, isn't it? And yeah, careless and inconsiderate and just damn right annoying. I remember this social contract we spoke about before. We're all here in society working together. So don't spoil it for other people by behaving like that. Just behave yourselves. A driver can only be charged with either careless or inconsiderate driving, not both. It's a summary offence, they're both summary offences, so you're looking at a fine, an endorsement and discretionary disqualification, or a £100 fixed penalty notice and 3 penalty points. So literally, there's no point in doing it. It's stupid, guys, come on. It's nice to get a car, you know, it's liberating and things. So don't ruin it as soon as you get one by driving like that. There are defences for driving dangerously and carelessly. Of course, there are defences for everything, and I'll go through those with you now. Again, I'm going to read these from the Blackstone's Policing Handbook because they're quite specific and I want to make sure you guys get them right. So the first one is automatism, and that's like the involuntary movement of your body or limbs. So it must occur very suddenly with little or no warning. It could be due to an epileptic fit with no prior symptoms, or like a wasp sting. Case law has established that falling asleep at the wheel or a hypoglycemic diabetic coma are not automatism. So unconsciousness or sudden illness. So this will include situations where a person suddenly becomes unconscious as a result of circumstances beyond their control, such as being hit on the head by a stone that smashed your windscreen. It says here again, case law has established that falling asleep at the wheel or a hypoglycemic diabetic coma are not beyond the driver's control. Assisting in the arrest of offenders. So here the driver might have a defence if they intentionally shunted a suspect's car off the road in order to help police arrest a suspect. And there's a stated case there, RV Renouf in 1986. Duress by threats. So the suspect must be able to show that they drove dangerously due to a threat that they could not perceive or otherwise escape. Duress of necessity. The suspect must be able to show that they got to drive dangerously to avoid death or serious injury to any person. It was not reasonable to act otherwise in the circumstances. Maybe you're dashing someone to hospital in your car, you couldn't wait for an ambulance. A sudden mechanical defect. This does not apply if the driver is already aware of the defect, or it could have been easily discovered by a superficial examination, for example, of tyres. I checked my tyres the other day. If you watched that short video, it cost me quite a bit of money to get that fixed. An authorised motoring event. So a person will not be guilty under section 1, 2 or 3 of the Road Traffic Act if they drove in accordance with the authorisation of a motoring event given by the Secretary of State. So you do go to these motoring things, don't you, where people bombarding cars and things, but that's regulated and it's safely done. So that is dangerous driving. We also looked at mobile phones and seatbelts. In the next video, because I appreciate this one's already pretty long, we're going to look at drink and drug driving. That's it from me today. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and please don't commit any crimes.